Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben, and this is the Long Pod from the Pod Company. So if you ever felt a little cramped in the ice pod, or maybe are a little tired of sitting in the fetal position as you freeze your butt off in ice cold water, then the Long Pod might be something up your alley. And here it is, the Long Pod. Now, if you're familiar with the ice pod at all, the Long Pod is made very, very similar to it in that it has an exterior nylon kind of shell, if you will. And of course, the inside is like a PVC type plastic with a small layer of insulation in between. And it's very, very similar if you're wondering about the insulation itself. Yeah, it's about the same as the ice pod, but there is a solution that I'll go into here in just a little bit. As far as overall dimensions on this thing, this measures about 61 inches long. And then as far as the width goes, we are about, I would say it's about 28, 29 inches wide. And then the height on here from all the way to the bottom to the top of the inflatable rim is about 22 inches overall. I want to give you guys a really quick kind of point of view look at getting inside the Long Pod. I am about 5'10", and so this will show you exactly how much room is inside. Let's see if we can do this without dropping the camera in there. Right now I have my back all the way against the back of the pod, and my feet not even touching. I still have about, I would say about a foot. So quite a bit of room there. Now between the Long Pod and the ice pod, there's definitely some appreciable upgrades to the Long Pod itself that I want to go ahead and show you guys. And the first and most obvious thing is that the Long Pod itself holds 126 gallons of water. This definitely holds a lot more water. And so for that, you'll be able to actually submerge just a little bit better. So in other words, if you're a little bit taller, you want a little bit more space, a little bit bigger person maybe, the Long Pod is definitely a really good choice for that, simply because you're gonna have much more room than you would, say, in like an ice pod. Now again, if you're familiar with the ice pod, you know that it has some PVC posts that are actually inserted into the exterior nylon, and that's what really holds its structure. Now, kind of the nice thing about the Long Pod is it actually has metal framing right here. So the metal framing actually comes pre-installed right here on this front and back face, and it just has like some curved tubing here on the side to hold that up. So it's actually really simple to set up, just like the ice pod is. But the fact that it has metal, the structure overall of this, it feels much more sturdy and durable. And so, you can actually kind of, if you're going to get up out of this tub, you can actually brace on the sides, unlike the ice pod, because the sides would just kind of collapse. And so for this, you can actually, put some weight on it. And the only thing to that, I would imagine, is that if you don't put this on some sort of mat and you're trying to put this on concrete, say like in your garage or something like that, I could see the poles, maybe getting scraped up and starting to rust. So you'll want to be conscious of that. However, I think that the metal overall is a nice upgrade. Now, as far as the included accessories that come with this, yes, of course, you come with the cover. It has the ice pod itself, the poles. I think it comes with a repair kit, a little pump to fill up the inflatable ring around the top. But one of the nice things, it does come with this cover that's actually insulated. So that goes right on top of the water. And you can see the cover right here of the Long Pod. It extends the entire length of the Long Pod itself, and it sits right here on top of the water. And so this part right here has just a little bit of insulation just to kind of help keep those temperatures cool. All right, so let's take a moment to talk about the insulation of the Long Pod. Now, if you've ever had an ice pod or anything similar to that, you know that the insulation on those things, it's just okay. If you're in a very hot climate, it doesn't really hold the temperatures all that well. And of course, you have to add a lot of ice, which I don't recommend. But if you have a chiller, the chiller is going to be running quite a bit as well. So one of the nice things that they include right out the gate is an insulated cover to the Long Pod, and it goes all the way around. So let me go ahead and show you guys that. There you have it. I have the Ultra cover set on right now. And, frankly, I really actually like this. I kind of wish it looked like this without it, because it just has a really kind of slick look to it. But it's nice that it just adds 1/2 inch insulation all the way around, so it definitely keeps it a lot cooler. I actually tested it with the Ice Pod Pro, and in my testing, I found that during the hot summer, I could actually get the temperatures down about 10 degrees more than I could otherwise. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you're able to get the Ultra cover set. And of course, the cover does have some cutouts, for the chiller ports right here, so it just kind of wraps right around those. The only tip I will tell you guys is that it is a lot easier to put this on if you do it before you add water to the pod itself. So it's just not pushing out so much, and it's just a little bit easier to actually Velcro it right here. Now, guys, let's talk about actually keeping this thing cold. So with the ice pod, you could actually add a decent amount of ice and keep that thing cold. Now, because this has an increased capacity of water, This is just my opinion, guys, but I do not think that you should buy this if you're planning on using ice. So I'm not saying that you can't buy ice, but I'm just saying that if you do, you're gonna have to put a lot of ice in here in order to get this thing cold, even if it has this insulated cover to it. Now, on that same note, let's go ahead and talk about the chillers. So the Pod Company, they do offer two different types of chillers that you can buy. They have the 1/3 horsepower and they have the 1/2 horsepower chiller. Now, again, guys, this is just my opinion. I have a lot of experience with this. If you're going to get a chiller for this, for the long pod, I would say go with the 1/2 horsepower chiller. And I know you're not going to like that because it's a good amount more money to buy that one. But the reason I say that is because I've used the 1/3 horsepower. It's very good for an ice pod because it's around about 80 gallons to cool that. But with 126 gallons, I mean, that'd really be pushing that chiller, the 1/3 horsepower chiller, to the max. And so that's the regular standard version, by the way. Go ahead and just get the 1/2 horsepower chiller. That's what I use now. Almost exclusively, I still have a 1/3 horsepower chiller. I just find that the 1/2 horsepower, it just works so much better than the 1/3. That's just gonna be my advice to you guys at home. Just buy the 1/2 horsepower chiller, pay the little bit more money up front, because long term, I think you're actually gonna save yourself money by not having to run up your electricity bill so high. If you're new to cold plunging, one of the important things that you have to consider about doing the cold plunges is that when you hop in the water constantly, a lot of the debris from your body, the oils, the lotions, things like that, will actually go into the water. It'll get pretty nasty pretty quick. The Pod Company, they actually have this water stabilizer that they sell. I have used this, and this is actually a really good product. You don't have to necessarily get this. There's a lot of other products that you can use. However, if you're on the website, they're running a sale, or this is just something that you want to pick up to make life a little bit easier, I can say that this is actually a very effective product, and so I just kind of want to let you guys know that this is available. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the price. The long pod retails for $299, which in my opinion, guys, based on all the other cold plunges out there, that's actually a pretty dang good deal. Compared to the Ice Pod Pro, as I had mentioned earlier, this one it holds more water. It has a better frame to it. It has that metal frame, so it's just going to hold up a little bit better, have better structure to it. And if you start comparing it to other tubs, similar to like some of the inflatable cold plunges out there, I mean, those run you anywhere from about $600, $700, $800 and up. However, I do think that it is a very good buy. Now there you have it. That is the long pod, guys. I don't want to do a super long review on this. That's just going to be drawn out. But those are the fundamentals of the long pod. I think that this is a very, very cool and much needed addition to their lineup as far as these portable pop-up cold plunges. I do really like this one in the sense that it holds way more water. This is something that you can actually lie down. It's easier to get into. And also, like I said earlier, it has this kind of like metal frame to it. So it actually has much better structure to it overall. So if you guys have any kind of questions or comments about the long pod, go ahead. Let's talk about it down in the comment section down below. There is a promo code if you want to get a little bit of money off this as well. However, besides that, I'll see you in the next video.